It's Friday, October 11th, 2024, and Fridays are Ask or Tell Me Anything. Next on the AM Update. Bit of an abbreviated episode this morning. No Suck Saturday tomorrow. A little bit under the weather, trying to save my voice and energy as much as I possibly can. So appreciate you hanging out with me on the AM Update for another week. Before we get into some of the submissions this week, just a few words on Hurricane Milton this week. Obviously a blessing that this storm weekend, it was a Category 5 hurricane multiple times as it was out over the Gulf of Mexico. It landed as Category 3, as we told you about yesterday morning, and still a really devastating storm. I have friends down there, and last I heard that they were evacuating. And prayers out to everybody impacted by that storm. First time in 100 years that a hurricane of that magnitude passed within 50 miles of Tampa Bay. So, it's a blessing that it weakened, but still a serious situation, especially given all of the tornadoes that it spawned, and then having those wind shears come in after the tornadoes, kicked up a bunch of debris. That was a really serious situation. The Tropicana Field down there, the Major League Baseball stadium, that had been being used as a staging area and a shelter for several hundreds, if not more than 1,000 linemen that Ron DeSantis had staged for the recovery efforts. Well, it got its roof blown off, but before that happened, DeSantis and the Florida Emergency Department actually moved those linemen away. Just great anticipation. And that leads me to what we've seen from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. I don't think this can be underscored enough. And I just don't think that we should take for granted these displays and illustrations of impeccable leadership and courage under fire. And so I think it's important to make a note of this. You look at the last year or so for Ron DeSantis. Of course, he ran in the GOP primary. Did he even have a primary? He ran in the GOP primary. And then he had to go back down to Florida. It was maybe September. I can't remember. I think it was Hurricane Idalia, I think is what it was. Pretty major hurricane. Took out bridges. He got that all figured out. Just the same as what we're seeing now. He's got his stuff down when it comes to hurricanes in that state. Rebuilt a bridge in like 3 days or something crazy like that. Got right back to the campaign trail once he made sure his people were taken care of and on the road to recovery. Got back on the campaign trail, worked the state of Iowa to the bone, and he was rewarded by getting beat by 25 points. So he drops out after that, held his head up high. He took the high road the entire time, went back to Florida, just navigated that next legislative session to a T, did really well. Once that was over with, turned his focus to making sure that Floridians voted no on Amendment 4. That's what we've seen this late summer and now fall. He's been investing in that and invested in that. And then you get hit with Hurricane Helene. And then less than 2 weeks later, Hurricane Milton. And lesser men, and that would be most of us, lesser men, when you saw Milton was on the way and what that could have been, probably would have hung our heads. Said something along the lines of, why me? Why me? Can I catch a damn break? But not him. He stepped right into the matters box, hit one, out of the ballpark again. So the people of Florida, regardless of what they think of Ron DeSantis, are lucky to have him. And I just don't think at a national level we can just take for granted and just say, oh, yeah, that's DeSantis. I think we need to highlight, again, the masterful job that he has done leading that state through now multiple major hurricanes in as many weeks. So I just wanted to say a few words about that. Again, continued prayers to those rebuilding again after this latest hurricane. Let's begin with one of our go-tos, Uncomfortably Dumb. Your thoughts on which way Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan go if the election season ended this week? I think they would all go towards Donald Trump. Now check this, at least since 2000, all three of those states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, they've all voted as a block. 2000, they voted for Al Gore. 2004, Kerry. 2008, Obama. 2012, Obama. 2016, Trump. 2020, Biden. And what I'm seeing right now is I think they would all go for Trump. Although, if there were one election cycle where I could see one or two of these states split from the rest, it would probably be this cycle because of how close things are. I'm not ready to say that it's looking good for Donald Trump because 2022 happened. That's a fact, Jack. It happened. The red tsunami, red wedding, red bloodbath that was supposed to happen never did. And that has scarred me. The normies didn't come to the rescue. And so I'm always just so you can't disappoint me. You can't break my heart again. My stance on this election is that 2022 happened. And until America shows me different, shows me that they're actually ready to show up, ready to show a pulse, that's what I'm defaulting to. 2022 happened. I will say this, though. If this were any other election cycle, if this were any other people in this country than the kind of people that I think we are, which I do not have a high opinion of, if this were any other election cycle, removing all of the personalities, removing all of the policies, removing all of the drama, and you analyze it in a vacuum just based on how the campaigns are behaving, I would say that the Democrats are acting like they're in trouble. And Republicans, at least at the very top of the ticket, Republicans are acting like they're pressing their advantage. That's how it looks like to me. You may disagree, but that's what it looks like to me. I don't know if that's true, but just based on the behavior, not the polls, but based on the behavior, panicking, Tim Walz going on Fox News of all places, Kamala Harris trying to get out in front of as many cameras as she can after trying to run a basement campaign. Those are moves that have them panicking. Now I see that finally Barack Obama, I think it's Bill Clinton, maybe it's Hillary Clinton, going to be on the campaign trail with Kamala Harris now. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. But now that's finally going to happen, it looks like. So if it were today, it's not today, but if it were today, I think this would actually Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. They would all go the same direction, and that would be for Donald Trump. One more this morning, like I said, an abbreviated episode. Let's go to Cavalier. Christians have been told to vote for Trump and his candidates for nearly 10 years to save America. They then lose. They then demand we vote for them again to save America while they bask in depravity, rinse and repeat. Christians might be done with that. Well, if some of the latest Barna research has anything to say, Cav, you might be right. I think I saw 51% of Americans either plan or don't plan to vote. 51% of Christians, self-professed Christians, plan or do not plan on voting. I'll say this. If you don't vote at all in this election, you're not exercising your Christian stewardship over your citizenship. Now, I didn't say if you're not voting for Donald Trump. I'm saying if you're not voting at all. Are you really telling me that there's nobody on that ballot that's at least worth voting for? I don't think so, even in some of the bluest areas of the country. So if you don't vote at all, you're not really exercising your Christian stewardship over your citizenship. When it comes to voting for Trump, I'm still not going to go to the place where I'm going to ensnare people's consciences. I'm just going to tell you my math here. Time for settling differences with people who are expressly anti-Christian. Time for settling those differences in a peaceable means is running short. Kamala Harris is explicitly anti-Christian. Don't listen to what they say on the campaign. Look at what the administration has done, that she's been a part of, and that she's now owning willfully, and with the help of Joe Biden. Look at what they've done. The Department of Justice, FBI, showing up to pro-life fathers' houses and arresting fathers in front of their children with guns drawn. Sentencing septuagenarians and octogenarians to prison for the crime of praying outside of baby-killing facilities. You really think that's not Christian? That's not anti-Christian? When it comes to Donald Trump, he is not a Christian. And I'm not saying that as a judgment. I'm saying that maybe he's had a conversion since the first attempt on his life. That was the closest to being successful. But he said he's never asked God for forgiveness, never clarified that. He's just not a Christian. And I don't think he's anti-Christian. I think there are some in his orbit, who can't stand people like you and me, who wish that we could win elections without people like you and me. I think they resent us more than they hate us. I don't think Donald Trump yet hates us. I'm just going to tell you this, and I'm kind of shooting from the hip here. The worst thing that could happen in this election is for Kamala Harris to win. I think that is the worst possible scenario. And I think you can agree with me and still not be convinced that you're going to vote for Trump. Maybe you lost your business during COVID. Maybe you didn't get to say goodbye to a loved one during COVID. And headship matters. And you just can't forget the biggest headship factor of them all, and that's Donald Trump. And you just can't forgive him for that. I'm not going to stand here and fault you for that. I'm just telling you my math in my own head. So the worst thing that could happen in this election is that Kamala Harris wins. The worst thing at the top of the ticket, I should say. Kamala Harris wins. And she unleashes to its maximum potency an anti-Christian regime in this country. That's the worst thing. I think you can say that that's the worst thing and still not bring yourself to vote for Donald Trump. That's hard to do, but I think you could say that. The second worst thing that could happen in this election is for Donald Trump to win and to do it without needing Christians. You would be sending an eternal message to the entire system that neither side needs you, that neither side needs to kiss up to you. That is dangerous. Maybe you disagree. Let me know what you think at Real AM Update on X. That'll do it for Ask or Tell Me Anything. Thank you for your questions this morning. Sorry for the abbreviated episodes. And like I said, no Suck Saturday tomorrow. Bella and I will be at it again next week. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you again on Monday.